And joining me now is Keith Lamar, Democratic analyst and defense attorney, and Ned Ryan, Republican strategist and former presidential writer for George W. Bush. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
How you doing?
Good to be with you.
Well, as we know, there is a lot of outrage surrounding this. It is a graphic video, yet YouTube says it does not violate their policy. So, Ned, I'm going to start with you. As a Republican, does this go too far?
Well, first of all, I would point out that this has been online since July of 2018, so congrats for Maggie Haberman in New York Times actually finding it about 15 months later. I was at this conference. I spoke at this conference twice from the main stage, and I have to tell you, I'd be hard-pressed to probably find a dozen of the 1,000 people that attended that actually saw that video. It was satirical. There was no call to violence. It was in very poor taste. I will add that. But spare me the moral lectures from the New York Times, the same newspaper that actually sponsored the play in Central Park in 2017 that showed a Trump-like figure being stabbed to death at the end. I don't recall the outrage of Snoop Dogg video shooting a Trump-like character. Again, we go back to Kathy Griffin holding the bloody decapitated head of Trump. All of this to say, when the New York Times will apologize for sponsoring that play, when the media will actually condemn Antifa, and we saw them actually attacking Trump supporters in Minneapolis just a few nights ago, when they will do that, I'll take them seriously. Until then, I'm sorry, it's a little bit hypocritical to me.
All right. Well, Ned, some people will challenge you on that and say there was outrage on those videos, but many people don't want to hear necessarily from the press secretary. They want to hear from the president. So, Keith, does the president need to condemn this video outright?
Well, he definitely has to condemn this video. It's a terrible video. Two wrongs don't make it right. I don't care what's going on in the world. You're the president of the United States, so you got to make a stand. And at the end of the day, you got to stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. Not a good video for us. And come through and make a better stance for yourself.
The White House condemned it. The White House condemned it today very strongly.
Trump has to do it.
Fine. You know what? I mean, again, I would call on him to condemn it. It was in poor taste. But again, spare me the moral outrage from the New York Times. It's hypocritical.
Okay, so, well, gentlemen, so if the president does come out and does not, rather, condemn this video, so does that send some sort of sense of approval for it?
Oh, it definitely sends some sort of approval because at the end of the day, you are the leader. And as the leader, you got to stand up and make a change for yourself. So, yes, it's a bad video. Maybe you didn't make it personally, but you have to let the people know, the children know, and your country know that this is not right and that's not how we're going to behave out here.
Okay, so the president in the past has retweeted a violent video showing the president body slamming a CNN logo. And of course, he has been known to attack the media, labeling the media as the enemy of the people. So let's take a look at just a few of his comments from the past, and then we'll talk when we come back.
But they can make anything bad because they are the fake, disgusting news.
Our media has become the laughingstock of the world.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. You know what? You're creating violence by your questions. You know, you are creating you. And also, a lot of the reporters are creating violence by not writing the truth. The fake news is creating violence.
Ned, I want to talk to you. So how do you respond to that, to what the president has said? And also, how do you think this does sit with his supporters?
Well, I will say this. This has been all-out war in many ways for the White House press corps against Donald Trump for the last several years. They've made it very clear in their actions and their behavior that they view him as their great white whale. They are going to go after him and take him out. I do not view them, many of them, as actually real journalists or reporters. I view them as propagandists. I'm sorry. When you watch their behavior, when you watch the level of negative news, I think it's somewhere in the 90 percentile since Trump's been inaugurated. This is not objective news, and I would actually argue that much of what they've been supporting, and much of the American people, if you remember the Axios poll from last summer, the overwhelming majority of the American people, when asked, do you think that at any time the mainstream media actually intentionally pushes fake media, the overwhelming majority of the American people said yes. And this is not a good place for us to be as a country. I want to make that clear. I think the media has an important role in this country to actually show transparency and provide accountability, to play it even-handedly. But I don't see that happening right now with the Trump presidency. So he's punching back. As they're going after him, he's punching back, and his supporters are behind him.
Ned, thank you so much. Both Keith Lamar and Ned Ryun like to continue this conversation, and we will, but we thank you for joining us.